We now go inside out and welcome in Conor Hughes. And Conor, what message did Darren Muji and the Jets send by being proactive in getting this extension done?
A good one. This was a player in Garrett Wilson, Eamon, that the Jets identified as a core part of their future, a foundational piece, a young player at a premium position who is still entering his prime. And this contract extension, remember, it kicks in after his fifth-year option. That means the Jets now have Garrett Wilson under contract for the next 6 seasons. The entirety of his prime, he is going to be playing for the green and white. This is a player who's accomplished so much his first 3 years, despite uncertainty at the quarterback position, uncertainty with the offensive coordinator situation, really just colossal failures around him, and he still continued to bring it week after week after week. This is a player, I should say, that you want to build around, and the commitment that the Jets have shown to Garrett Wilson is that they acknowledge that this is somebody that they want on their team for the foreseeable future.
Obviously, it takes two sides to agree to a deal, so how has Wilson's attitude towards staying with the Jets changed since the arrival of the new regime?
Amy, it was testy towards the end of last year. In fact, I remember talking to old members of the Jets staff who were pretty convinced that Wilson was inevitably going to ask for a trade this offseason. They thought he'd be lured to Houston to play with C.J. Stroud or with any of these other top-tier quarterbacks who want a legitimate number one receiver, because that's what Wilson is, a legitimate game-changing number one receiver. And in today's day and age, the athlete has so much power to control what ends up happening with him. So those were feelings that, knowing how Wilson felt towards the end of last year, he would force his way out of town. The arrival of Aaron Glenn, the arrival of Darren Muji, bringing in his former college teammate in Justin Fields, somebody who Wilson has a significant amount of mutual respect for, a legitimate friend of his. It's kind of renewed his passion for the Jets, I think, a little bit. And the big thing with the Jets is that these last 3 years, Eamon, like I said, they took their toll on Wilson, but he was always committed to New York. He just wanted to feel that commitment back from them. This contract, $32.5 million average per year, the fifth most in the NFL, first most among NFL receivers. Yeah, that's quite a commitment shown to the Jets' new number one receiver, or the Jets' number one receiver.
Yeah, to say the least. All right, as you mentioned earlier, Garrett Wilson is a young player at a premier position that the Jets can build around. So how does this deal impact something similar being done with Sauce Gardner?
Yeah, Sauce is going to come. I would be very, very surprised if Gardner wasn't extended also before training camp. I think that's going to come here in short order. In fact, I believe the Sauce Gardner contract, Eamon, was the easier of the two to figure out. With Garrett Wilson, you kind of had to think, okay, what is Garrett Wilson going to accept? Where do the Jets fit him into the NFL receiver hierarchy? Because he's not exactly Justin Jefferson, Chase, but he's also been held back by the quarterbacks he's been playing with and the offensive coordinators. And I think that number 5 spot, the fifth highest paid receiver in the NFL, it's the higher end of where I thought he'd fall. But around 5 to 7 is where I thought he'd ultimately get paid. That's what he ended up getting paid. Sauce Gardner, there's no question there. When Gardner gets paid, he is going to be the highest paid corner in the NFL. It's just a matter of how much he's going to eclipse that mark by. So I think with Wilson, the more challenging contract out of the way, the Jets can now put all of their efforts into re-signing Gardner. And like I said, Eamon, I think that's going to happen here before camp.
And with that, we say salutations and welcome in Sal Licata. The $32.5 million average in Garrett Wilson's deal is 5th highest among wide receivers. So, Sal, is this a wise long-term investment for the Jets?
I think it is, Eamon. They're paying based on what they expect him to do, not based off of what he's done so far. Do I think he's worth that much based on what he's done so far? No, I don't. But I've always loved Garrett Wilson as a player and as an individual. And think about it, bigger picture, where it finally shows some stability here with the Jets. They've eliminated a potential future problem. We've already heard about the contract negotiations and what's going to happen with Wilson and Sauce, and now they have to get to the Sauce part of things, but they don't have to worry about their star wide receiver. And I do think better days are ahead for Garrett Wilson. So this is a problem. You've seen the numbers, what he's done, obviously, but he should get better than that. But this is a problem that the Jets have eliminated now by locking him up, getting ahead of the curve, securing a superstar player when there was an unknown. Does Garrett Wilson want to be with the Jets, or the Jets' new regime? Are they going to let him go? I think it's a great day for the Jets. They can lock up a young stud and I think he's only going to get better.
All right, you led me to my next question in that first answer because he did put up career-high numbers last year, but seemed a bit disenchanted with the whole Jet experience. What are you expecting from him now that he has a new contract, a new coach, and a new/old quarterback?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a happy camper or a happier camper in Garrett Wilson. Maybe less frustrated, maybe more of a leader, knowing that he got taken care of. You could trust the organization to do the right thing. Also, now we don't know. We haven't seen Aaron Glenn coach a game as a head coach yet. But I do feel like Glenn's going to get the most out of his players. How that's going to pan out as far as the wins, losses go, who knows? But I think Garrett Wilson's going to turn into a leader here. And even with a quarterback who's got an issue throwing the football with Justin Fields, obviously they have a rapport from Ohio State. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have another career year and then another career on top of that. You know, again, the numbers, maybe more touchdowns will be better than he's had in recent years. 1,000-yard receiving season, pretty good, especially with the way the quarterback play has been. I think that would be big this year, expecting the Jets to run the football more, but he's going to be a sound, top-notch receiver and a leader for this Jets organization.
And as you said, a happy camper making $32.5 million in the near future. Just like you're a happy camper making $32.5 million a year. Sal Licata, thanks for joining us here on Honda Sports Night.